This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Goren Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom. What is up, dude?
Boom. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's going on?
All is good.
So, Rankin, what were you just elaborating on with the currency?
We're talking about money.
All currency goes to zero.
Pretty much. One second.
Oh, now you're not ready?
Right. How are you not ready for your topic? How does that make sense?
Yeah, this is all.
Hey, wait. I'll do the thing that I always forget. Go to dgb.vc. That's the place to go. If you're an early stage startup in the space, building something at the intersection of blockchain or AI and fintech, come hang out with us, pitch us, tell us why and how you are going to change the world, and we will be your wingmen and have your back, and we'll have a lot of fun together. If you are an investor in the space and you want to get to know a bunch of startups in the space and hang out, and Nate ditched us.
Where did he go?
Go to dgb.vc. Something happened, device disconnected.
I'm sure he'll come back.
He gave me a look, and I was like, bro, don't look at me that way.
How
so
embarrassing.
I knocked him off
I'm
the
just
team.
kidding.
It was.
He cut you off. He didn't like
No, it was
Right.
yes.
Right.
I gave him the wink. I gave him the secret signal. He was like, fine.
Boom. Boom. Boom.
All right.
Tell us, Rankin. Talk to us about money. Nate froze again, by the way. So something's up on his side.
He thought you said red light.
All right. Take a deep breath. Okay. So money. Well, as I was saying, I'll repeat some of it. So as I was saying, so as a kid, my grandparents would travel around the world, right? And it was really cool because they would bring back change. And so there was this thing about getting my grandparents old change for money that they collected. Now, the cool thing is my grandparents like traveled their lives. One of my grandparents was like a missionary in Africa, right? And so they like traveling. But what was fascinating is some of these currencies from some of these countries are no longer currencies. Like, and so we were discussing earlier before the show that currency can often be sometimes a temporary medium of exchange that is not permanent. The current dollar that we have is likely not going to be around in the next 100 years. And the thing is we've actually changed the face of the dollars. I mean, anybody that's old enough, maybe not Nate, the $100 bill has changed from what it originally looked like, right?
All of them have.
I have an old pen right there.
And so it's but the thing is we don't go, oh, the money has changed, even though it has, right? But we're going to get to a point where people are going to be like, wait a second, we don't accept those here, But anyways, I was talking to Nathan, and he was commenting on having to sell some Bitcoin to move. Sorry if I don't know if you want to do that public about it.
It's fine.
But we were talking about this, and I said, well, that's fine, because what happens is the reason for Bitcoin is to be able to save to eventually sell for a higher utility. Something that brings your life benefit, right? What is the purpose of a store of savings? The goal of a savings, and granted, savings in the bank, we don't consider savings because your dollars are actually losing value over time. But the idea of saving in terms of Bitcoin is that eventually it will provide a higher utility, right? And so the thing is if selling some Bitcoin is actually going to improve the utility of your life, it's worth it, right? If it's going to improve the overall functionality. And the thing is we're so used in our current society of our current economic model, because if you sit there and hoard cash is going to lose value. In 5 years, you're not going to be able to buy the same amount of groceries as that you can buy today with that cash. And so what happens is we've been trained as a society to basically sell, continue to utilize our cash to buy consumable goods, that don't last, that have to be rebought. We have this thing called planned obsolescence, where now you have to buy a phone every 2 years because your phone no longer updates. It doesn't, meet the same standards, or it crashes and loses its battery life, but you can't even change the goddamn battery anymore. And so we've created this planned obsolescence. Why? So that way people continue to consume. Like I was watching a video yesterday that was talking about jackets. They make jackets where the insulation in the jacket literally only lasts for like 2 years. Yet they actually have products out there that they can replace the insides of a jacket and make them last indefinitely. Why not do that? Because they stopped selling jackets. If you bought a jacket that lasts forever, you never need to buy another one. Well, so here's the thing. When you have something like Bitcoin, it changes your paradigm on consumption. What happens is you go, well, wait a second. I'm not actually going to consume this unless this thing that I'm buying is going to last longer than the Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. That it's going to preserve value longer than Bitcoin will preserve value. Now, granted, most things won't preserve value better than Bitcoin over time, right? So I'm not going to buy that jacket unless it's good quality. I'm not going to buy that car unless it's good quality, unless it's going to bring more utility value over time than me simply just holding Bitcoin. And this is why I still have a microwave that's broken in my kitchen. And I keep this as a reminder, even though I can't.
I like that you flipped it. You flipped it into a noble act.
I did. I bought a toaster oven instead because I said, I actually bought that microwave 5 years ago, and then it broke, and I said, you know what? Screw the microwave. Unless I'm remodeling this whole kitchen, I'm not buying another cheap crap-ass microwave.
I have an extra one if you want me to send you a microwave.
No, it's up there, bro.
I think the shipping cost.
Yeah, the shipping,
I was
right?
like,
we should do we should set up a GoFundMe. The Rankin's microphone fund.
I'm just
microwave fund.
It's like this: remodel the kitchen, hold Bitcoin. Which sounds like a better opportunity? I'm like, dude, the fucking Bitcoin all the way. Sorry, my.
I mean,
you're fired up today, man. I know.
Your family's gonna get
coffee, bro. Coffee.
Don't drink coffee.
He doesn't normally drink coffee, so that's what's.
I don't normally drink coffee. I avoid coffee. You see why?
Why? What made you decide to just drink coffee all of a sudden? Then
it's been a week.
It's all because of Nate sending me shit at night that keeps me up at night.
Oh, really?
It's an inside
Nate
joke.
Sending him shit at night that should have been sent to him before is mostly my fault.
Okay.
So it's like a domino effect of amplification of driving Rankin.
But because of it, this morning you get me on coffee.
There we
just
go.
went behind that curtain, the DGB curtain.
That's right. It's there's a whole cascade of chasing me for the things I forget to do and or don't forward properly.
Your name is on the company, so you can do that. Your name's on the company.
Just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Right.
I'll be your personal assistant. Oh wait, you probably have one, but I will.
So yeah,
when you decide to move into the suburbs of Southern California, we got a deal.
I'll be like, here's your coffee, sir.
That's
cream,
right.
sugar.
That's right.
People be like, I thought you had an assistant. He's working on a song. Leave him alone. He's painting my wall right now with really cool art. That would be a way to get you to commission artwork at way sub market value. This could be a deal. We hire Nathan. Like people do that, right? Like they hire artists, they give them a paycheck, and then they get to own all the art they make and stuff, right? Yeah. Like it's like a weird, it's like a good deal, but a bad deal, Like it's.
Maybe there's a wall in Michigan that we can have them do.
I would love that. Dude, I've got a piece over here that I just did yesterday. I'm kind of working on.
Oh wow, that's a big piece.
Yeah, I've got like a few of them. There's one over there.
Nice.
What would be rad is maybe like if we did one of like when the team gets together in Michigan, plan for Nathan to be there at the same time so we can hang and have him do like a wall in the conference room or something.
I would love that. I was imagining it yesterday actually, because like this is all I would need is 2 pack of these acrylic markers.
Even if you're doing like a wall, like the size of like the wall behind you.
I would need like probably 4 of these bad boys. It's like Keith Haring.
That's it. You're not getting. You don't use. You won't need to use paint at all.
Not really, because this is acrylic paint.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I stopped using the brush at some point because it's less consistent. Your lines are like nice and there's no ink on this one, so it's not black right now. But the line is like really straight because it's like square.
Yeah.
So if you use the right tools, just like in building a house or anything, it makes it very quick and easy.
We should double check if the walls are really textured or not too, because maybe that'll be an issue or anything.
It'd be fine, and if it wasn't, I would just prime it real quick. It would dry in like probably 2 hours, and I would get to work. So these are like pretty textured, and it still works nicely. But I would love to do something like that. I was visualizing yesterday how it would be to get a commission to just like do
with a big
wall.
dot, with just the big dot slash in the middle, and then just all of that style of the black and white all around it on one whole wall. That would be
amazing.
Cool. So if you ever get a chance to go, I mean, a few of us have already been there, but like Tim Draper's office is super cool because he has comic book art all on his wall.
Okay.
Everywhere.
But the one wall has himself as like a Superman character with the Draper logo on it. Yeah. But it's literally the size of like a 30-foot high wall. Like it's literally like a 2-story wall that is boom. Like
it's super cool that somebody commissioned somebody to do that.
I'll find it and I'll bring it up on our screen.
Do you think he ever does that when no one's around? Like,
probably.
Yeah,
probably.
That's amazing.
Your art is like some of the stuff, Nathan, where it's like you see it at like the proper hotels, right? Because there's not a lot of TVs at like proper hotels, you know, but proper hotels have a lot of like architectural like design elements into all of their aesthetics, you know, everywhere you go, you know. So like how your art kind of flows, you know, like the proper hotels, they do that stuff all the time, you know.
No, I really appreciate that. That's like what these are about. I just like I will I'll improvise it. Like there's a video on my Twitter right now where it's just like an improvisation. And I just start at the corner and I just do what I feel. I also made this recently. It's just some abstract work. So
Oh, neat.
That should have been an art Basel.
Yeah, next year that's what I'm shooting for is to get into some of that stuff. I've gotten invites to things in the past, didn't get anything this year. And at first I was like a little frustrated, but then I realized like I hadn't been as consistent over the course of the last couple of years with it. So you can't like just feel entitled.
I think it's kind of like also in, you know, our field too. Sometimes it's just about like showing up even without some of the invites or without knowing what the end result's going to be, especially with you, like with your artwork, like something like Art Basel or some of those big like events like that. You're going to run into people just walking around and being able to get into different rooms and be at different kind of like social gatherings where you're going to be able to connect with someone that's got, you know, 200,000 followers, and yet someone else might have 20,000 followers, and the 20,000 person is looking for art, and they're going to pay a premium, you know, and so, and maybe the 200,000 person, they want you to create something super custom, you know, and so just by walking in, I think it's also like some of the stuff we've seen too is sometimes just by showing up, you're like, oh, I connected with this person again, or oh, I saw this person again, and then next thing you know, it leads to 3 conversations later that you wanted to have, but you never knew you were going to have if you didn't go. So, yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. That's how a lot of my life has unfolded, actually. So I'm going to remember that for sure. I'm locking that in.
There you go.
So
good.
There's the Hero City wall that we were just talking about. So there's Tim Draper in the middle next to the D, but he's got Superman and Batman and Robin and all that. And then in the foreground, you see the Deskla, by the way, which I think those are the 2 things that make The Office really, really rad is the Deskla and the murals.
Well, what you don't see is on the second floor, you also have the Tesla truck. That on the second floor. Sitting
they do? I didn't.
Yeah, there's a Tesla truck.
Man.
Oh, that must be new.
I think so. It was like
I was there a couple months ago. Maybe I just was rushing. I don't know.
A few months ago, I wanted to take everything I had and get one of those things. And I was like, that's a dumb decision. And then I keep going through like
short-term utility.
Right? You can mine Bitcoin with it though. I've seen people do that. But
unless you want to live it.
Yeah, if you want to live in it. But some days to me it looks like a refrigerator, like a stainless steel fridge, and then other days it looks amazing. So it's like my mindset keeps shifting.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where you're not sure. In like a few years, I have a feeling it's gonna go the route. Like, I'm not. It's hard to tell for sure, but I think it's gonna go the route of the Pontiac Aztec. Remember that car was made fun of by everyone. And then like 2, 3, 4 years later, every like one of those mid-size SUVs pretty much look like them. If you look at a Pontiac Aztec now, you're like, why'd that car get so much hate? Like, it's kind of ugly, but it's like not that different from every other car that's on the road. And it's like, doesn't look like so weird. But when it came out, it was like the biggest flop ever.
Like you bring up a really good point, because there's BMWs and Mercedes make some of their like body style models.
It's not that weird. It looks like a little bit boxier of almost every single Subaru that's on the road. Right?
They're ahead of their time for sure.
And I think that's what's going to happen with the Cybertruck. I think that it looks ridiculous, but it's kind of awesome. And then like the next day, you're like, you see the dude who like wrapped it to look like Swiss cheese, and you're like, bro, that's hilarious. But also like, who wants to drive Swiss cheese? And then you see the dudes that like add all this stuff to it. And
that's a great point.
Well, see, that's part of our job, is to recognize these trends.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I think they're probably ahead of the curve. But it also, in a way, is like a really sad idea. Because if you think about the fact that they like made it extra strong and could withstand all this stuff, like the point of that was so that you could like be in San Francisco and you wouldn't wake up with broken windows and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like, we're building cars to solve a problem that's like absolutely in a million years should not be a problem. Right?
That's just actually.
Everything he's building is in preparation of Mars. So that way you have windows that don't get damaged from high wind velocity in Mars.
I have a theory about that. I think that he's going to try to be like the owner of Mars eventually.
That would be rad. Like, it would be insane in the coolest way. We would be living in, he'd turn into Lex Luthor, right? But at the same time, it's like, who gives a shit? Right?
Yeah, we're not doing it.
See you later. Go own Mars, bro. And then like 50 years later, it might turn into something like in his kid's lifetime, maybe. But like in the short term, it would be the most ridiculous, awesome power move in the world. It's like plant a flag on the moon, be like, I own the moon. Everyone would be like, cool, bro. Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
eventually we'll be fighting over those planets.
If they figure out the transfer of the solar energy stuff, or like those energy kind of moves, that would be world changing, right? Like, if you could do the again, he's a huge fan of Isaac Asimov and all those old things, and I am too. And if you read those old stories that are like 70 years old or whatever, all of the technology in those things are like very not all of it. I'd say a huge percentage of it is very common today, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like the most far-fetched, crazy things, right? And one of the big things was that there would be power stations, either satellites that are going around Earth collecting solar and somehow beaming it to us, so that we didn't have to utilize all of the ancient, ways of getting power. Or things like that. But like all of the finite resources of the Earth, we could stop mining, we could stop doing horrible things to the environment, and just have unlimited solar power, basically, and resources like that. And we get it from the moon or other planets or asteroids, or literally just have satellites that beam energy to us, right? Like, more and more possible every day. It's not as far-fetched.
Outside the box.
Yeah, it's not as far-fetched. And if we have cars, right? Like, either we make solar so much more efficient that our cars can actually recharge pretty well, like just from solar panels on the roof or something, or you do something like that. And I know all these ideas are coming from me, who does not have a physics degree and doesn't know shit about shit. So
that's why I'm not saying my ideas.
Yeah, caveat, I don't know shit about shit other than I've read a lot of sci-fi, and it would be rad. And most of the things in the sci-fi books have come true, right?
I've always thought it would be cool to like shoot something towards the sun, and as it gets closer, it's going to disintegrate, but it would absorb the radiation, and it would shoot that back out towards us somehow. So it'd be like going in, absorbing radiation, and then boom, shoots back out, and that would like push it. They would kind of like push each other off.
We need a zip line to the sun, right?
That's another thing, right?
That just goes back and forth, right? And by the way, just the movement back and forth will create energy, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just magnetic. It's just a thing that's not actually a zip line to the sun. It'd be like a super long pole somehow, right?
Yeah.
Hear me out.
No, I mean, I'm listening.
It slingshots to the sun, and if it overheats at a certain amount of heat, slingshots it back, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some kind of zooming back and forth with energy being when it heats up, it shoots energy back towards the sun and just goes back and forth. Boom.
Yeah.
And bro, it'll be perpetual because I've decided that's what it's going to be. And now we've defied the second law of thermodynamics. Is it the second or the first? That energy can't be created or destroyed. So we're actually going to reverse entropy and save the world.
It sounds like throwing an anchor off of a boat.
Sort of.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, but it's something in my gut.
Have you ever tried that? You should see what happens when you do that, what you run into with the anchor if you keep moving.
I've solved the problem.
Crazy
Just
ideas.
do exactly what I said.
Happens. At one point in time, the idea of a cell phone was crazy. The idea of a touch screen on a cell phone was crazy. Email was going to destroy you.
None of that was crazy. All you had to do was watch Star Trek, bro.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's true.
And that's what Elon Musk did too.
Remember the really, like, there's like that one news segment, I forgot what it was on. It was like a dude was like, I've got a jacket that's lined with this. It keeps me warm. And now I have this telephone watch that connects to my briefcase. And he opens up the briefcase and there's like a copy machine inside of it. And it prints out actual papers and goes, look, I got my papers. Like, they didn't have the forethought to think we won't need paper anymore. It'll just be on a screen. They just thought that the watch will communicate like a fax machine and his briefcase would have a printer in it. Like, and we were all going to carry around
actually
printers.
did that. Like 15 years ago, I bought a toolbox, right?
Yeah.
And I literally put a printer in the toolbox, and I'd keep it in the back because I could pull the printer out of the toolbox and connect it to a laptop and print a contract like right there.
That's not the normal thing you think is coming out of a toolbox.
No, it wasn't.
No.
But
I guess it's still a tool. It's still an asset.
But if you're on a
That's
job
still an
site, right, and you need
I
an
was always
invoice,
thinking like out of the box though. Like, hey, well, we don't need to be in the office. Like,
out of
just
the
do this later.
toolbox. I wonder what we're using that we don't need that we're going to realize in 10 years was totally unnecessary. What if the need for electricity doesn't exist in 10 years? What if they come up with some revolutionary breakthrough and we're like using the magnetics of space that keep all the planets?
No, we could already do that. The problem is they want to control people, and you control people by controlling the power.
Right. But what if we created power by using, like, so we have watches that use your own movement to power the watch. What if we figure out how to use the movement of the Earth itself and the planet?
Make it all more efficient. Yeah.
Isn't that what people who are off the grid can do, right? If they have like solar panels that power everything and run everything from solar and they're off the grid, can't they technically, they're not necessarily controlled by the same power.
But listen to Rankin. The conspiracy theories around like the free energy Nikola Tesla stuff is rad. It's so cool. It's what I was saying that needs to get done. It's just going to beam that energy, right?
What Nate, the problem with it is usually what they do is when they put solar in, they put you onto the grid, right? Most of the time they don't install a breaker for you to break off the existing system. And so when you're providing solar, you're actually producing energy for the rest of the grid.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be self-sustaining, you have to actually be cut off the grid and have your own battery bank to capture your own solar.
Yeah,
most of the time when they install solar, they don't do that.
Yeah, like that.
And you get like a little discount on your electricity, or you sometimes get a rebate back, like for $2.
Here's the thing.
Makes those battery packs for outside your house and the solar like shingles and all that stuff.
Governments don't want people to be self-sovereign or self-sufficient because then you don't need a government anymore. They
we
want
get into conspiracies now.
Well, no, this is fact. No, you just go through history.
We should just go in.
You can go through history. I have a whole thesis where people look at early Christianity, which started as an organic movement against the religious establishment that then got institutionalized. It's the same movement that's happening in Bitcoin right now, which started as an organic movement that is now getting institutionalized. You can see the same parallels. The thing is what it is. It's institutions against self-sovereignty. Yeah, well, they want control. So the thing is governments don't want self-sovereignty. They don't want people to be able to do things on their own. They want people to be dependent upon them because that's what gives them power and control.
That gives them
people
monopoly.
Are self-sovereign, and they gives them monopoly. If they are self-sovereign and self-sufficient, they don't need governments other than just the police state. And then that blows everything apart. If you can handle all your own stuff, feed your own food, there's a whole society in New Mexico, these spaceship houses, Earth houses, where people have these self-sufficient houses that can do everything. They can feed themselves, they can produce their own energy, they have their own water supply that they harvest. They're self-sufficient. We have one little tiny pocket that was allowed to do this, and these guys have to fight to keep this going all the time. And the thing is the rest of the world could do that. The rest of the United States could do this. The thing is if that happened, people lose power, lose control. And people want power and control. And so what we do is we create all these rules and these systems to keep people in check so that way they can be under control. And that was the problem, the threat with Bitcoin. Bitcoin was this alternative system that offered self-sovereignty. Well, that's against the financial system. So what's the first thing it needs to do? Well, we need to co-opt it, incorporate it, adopt it, and then capture it. And then now that's the direction we're going. And hopefully someday we have a 95 thesis where we break away and be like, no, sorry, we don't want to do that anymore.
That's what I was thinking. There has to be the breakaway point at some point, or else it's kind of.
And I'm writing something on this, but go for it, Nate.
So no, what I was going to say is, so if currency is getting debased, then what would end up becoming the world currency in the next,
Well, we already know that. That's stable coins. I mean, we're seeing
USDC.
USD. So no, the problem, you can't just say USDC because every institution right now is going to make the mistake of trying to create it.
But there's going to be one master stablecoin that rules them all that they're all based on.
Well, so what happens is they first have to see that this system's going to fail. Everybody's going to start creating their own version of a stablecoin, and they're going to have issues because they're going to notice that there's dynamics with liquidity.
Yeah,
there's issues with liquidity that we're in a new territory.
Yeah, but somebody like JP Morgan could swallow the USD market cap overnight if they decide to do certain things.
They could.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a ruler who rules them all.
There's going to be some sort of Bretton Woods gold standard, and that's the way to make that work eventually. Right. And whatever that is going to be in control, and hopefully it's not some institution.
And so that's what we do is we allow the system to compete, and then what we do is we pick and choose who the winners of that competition are, and then we give it to them.
Maybe that's the first real use for a DAO. That's where DAOs come in potentially, because they seem to be just deciding pizza toppings right now.
DAOs can be easily captured. That's why they don't really work. And not only that, but most people actually don't participate. So it's just like voting, right? Like people don't really participate and vote because if they don't feel like their vote counts, they don't ever participate.
It's not just that. It's just that most of the people holding most of the coins aren't there for the right reasons too.
Correct.
They're there for number go up and trying to make money, and not many people are joining these DAOs going, I want to change the world. They're going.
And historically, there's been plenty of examples of that in crypto too.
Oh, for sure. That's the problem. We talk all this stuff, and we're a part of something that we know and we've seen over and over will do the wrong thing at times. And a lot of these people that do the wrong thing are they're the loudest voices telling us to do the right thing the whole time. And then the day comes where they finally have the power and the money to make a move, and they take it, just like all humans have. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It goes back to that.
You guys think as our, as more and more people get involved with digital assets and with, the dollar getting debased, do you think that international business and trade starts to go up because the transactions and how long it takes for someone to do, big business?
Yeah,
you have to wait
settlement times
a week, 2 weeks.
The speed at which settlement goes through will increase and be faster.
Yeah,
I mean that's the whole reason why they're doing this is the fact of that you'll be able to settle they have the T3, T2,
Yeah.
T0.
Yeah, the velocity.
Now essentially we're at the point.
Velocity is everything.
Yeah, so we're at the point where T0, so that means like transaction plus how many days it takes for like a transaction to happen, used to be like T2, T3, like he was saying, like, and you're talking about days, right? Now essentially we have the ability, even if it's not on chain, just digitally, you can do transactions that are T0. Now it's like it will be more and more as everybody updates their technology, it will be T plus whatever amount of time the banks and institutions want it to be for compliance or security or any reasons that they have, not because they're actually constrained by paperwork and lawyers and human beings and all the parts that screw up transactions, right? So even like we saw Stripe got back into crypto again. Everybody was making jokes online. If you use USDC to settle on Stripe, you pay a 1.5% transaction fee. And everyone was laughing at how exorbitant that is, but that's half the fee you would pay for Visa and MasterCard and stuff. And Stripe, it makes sense because they're going, ooh, you pay half the fee and there is no minimum. So you're not paying that plus 30 cents or 40 cents, whatever they do on MasterCard and Visa. But it's exorbitant for a crypto person because that's like offensive. But for the average person that uses Stripe, it's better. And it'll just be a race down to the bottom now. As everybody else starts adding the stablecoin payment rails, it'll be more instant, and it'll be cheaper. The one thing they're going to have to figure out is insurance and chargebacks and things like that. That's basically what MasterCard and Visa exist for now, right? Rankin sent me the t-shirt. This t-shirt sucks. I send it back to him. If he doesn't send me back my money, I can contact MasterCard and they can do a chargeback and get me my money, right? Yeah. We don't have that in crypto, right? All sales are final. But the more legitimate people are and the more institutional groups are and things like that, they'll create ways to do it, right? Like Nordstrom isn't going to stiff you because they're going to be like, I got your USDC too late, right? They're going to let you return your stuff. They'll send your money back and they'll be happy that they're not paying 3%, right? 3% is a significant portion of their margin. Obviously, they probably get a lower rate because they're a big thing, but it's probably 2%. Or 1.8, whatever it is, it's still much, much more than what they could be doing. And you think about supermarkets, they run on like a 3% margin or something like that. You could almost double their margin if you start using payment rails that don't cost them so much.
And all stores are starting to charge extra fees. Like I've been in places recently where they're starting to charge extra fees for like random things. Like I've been to places where if you use your debit card or credit card, they want like an extra $2 or $3 from you, even though you go to a taco place or something, they're like cash only, and you're like, oh, dude, I only have my card. They're like $1 transaction fee. And you're like, all right,
right,
because it costs them more,
Yeah, I wonder. That's a good startup idea. Just call it chargeback, and
there's lots of people. We've got pitches over the years working on it, but. Not lately, actually, to be honest. It was all in previous cycles, but I assume there's a lot of people working on that really specific problem, right? Like,
that's how you create a good startup too. You have a very specific thing, and it solves a big issue for everybody, and it makes a lot of money. That's like the kind of the formula, I think, right?
Well, yeah, you just got to solve a big problem. You solve a big problem. There are always people who need it, right?
David talks about that on Twitter sometimes. Like if somebody's got an idea or something, he'll be like, "Well, what solution is it providing? What problem is it solving?" I've seen these kind of arguments. It's funny. He chimes into people.
Well, because in our space, there's a lot of people who are so crazy smart. They want to build these really complicated and rad solutions to things that aren't a huge problem to pretty much anyone. But they're really cool. But there's doesn't really, or maybe it solves a problem differently than a current solution, but it's not marginally different, yet, or a big enough issue, right? So it's like a lot of these things aren't really a problem until they're a problem also, and we'd need crazy amounts of adoption for that to happen, right? And then we'll figure it out.
I think that's one of Rankin's biggest strengths, by the way, is like figuring out if something is like, it seems like his brain always goes back to, all right, what does this solve? And I think that's an amazing default setting to have.
That's exactly. You're spot on. Yeah.
Right? So this is my wife hates this. My wife hates it. She's like, you're always looking at problems. It's like, what? But the thing is you look at problems so you can find solutions. Exactly. Like if you don't know that there's a problem there, you can never find a solution. Like problems aren't a bad thing. It's
really funny because you focus on problems all day long in our job, like what problems people are solving. But at the same time, you have to be the most incredible optimist because you can always 100% of the time, you could come up with a million more reasons why a solution is not going to work versus thinking about what if this works, right?
But
like
it's like objections though. It's objections. It's like it's being rejection. Like being a salesperson, you go to doors and you knock on doors and you get rejected. You have to be able to overcome those, right? You have problems in life. You just have to figure out how do we overcome that problem to get to the next step.
Yeah.
It's a game. It's a game. That's all it is. And problems aren't something bad to hold you back or stop you. It's something to overcome so that way you can continue to move forward.
Yeah, they make us better. You're the most optimistic problem seeker I've ever met in my life, Phil.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, because this is a compliment. He's always happy and he's always upbeat. I've never seen somebody that sees like potential obstacles and everything, but at the same time keeps this like almost divine level of optimism towards everything.
Well, Rankin lives on a higher plane.
Yeah,
comes from a long line of divine people. And
he does. We had a very long, like almost a 3-hour conversation one day that I could tell like he's on a different level and he's like inspired by heavenly forces. Like he's got like some kind
the world's a crappy place, but I have a lot of hope for it.
No, you're a good dude. Like I think that's one of the biggest strengths that you provide this space and probably your family and all of us is like you're going to find a problem. And even if you don't see a solution, you're going to make sure that people don't that everybody realize the problem isn't actually like a big deal. It's just,
that's the thing. That's a thing that is, I think sets apart like entrepreneurs from others is
absolutely.
There's a certain category of people who, even when they're frustrated, are a little bit excited that there is a problem. Like you need a little friction, right? Like you gotta overcome it. And because it is chaotic to be an entrepreneur, it's hard. There's always those obstacles along the way. And sometimes they come when you think, sky's blue, right? Like it can come out of nowhere and you have to be able to live with it. And it's really, really hard for some people to do. And it's not that it's easy for others, but it's almost like they have no choice. Like there is a certain category of people that like when they're pitching their problem to you, you're going, oh, they're just like in it for the money. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not usually the best way to get best reason to be in a space, because there's always something shinier somewhere else. There's always a reason why it's going to fail. But if you're that person who's like, I don't know what I would be doing, or there's nothing I would be doing other than solving this problem, where they're like miserable doing anything else because they absolutely have to do this, right? And it's just that, right? Go Ring. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm probably a byproduct of my upbringing, right? Like my parents were divorced at a young age. I had a stepmom, and I kind of grew up this life that they would tell me things like, "No, you can't do that." And I was the type of kid, and I was an ass. I was a pain in the ass, and I'd be like, "Well, then if you say I can't do that, watch, I'm going to prove you wrong."
Yeah,
that was my personality. Like my mom, I think eventually learned to play with that, right? Like, look, if I tell him he can't do something, I know he's actually going to go out there and produce and do it. That became a pain. But like,
David, you cannot buy all my NFTs right now. You can't do it.
I bet he can.
I
totally think he can.
I don't think he can.
I've learned to control myself.
He can't do it. He can't even buy one.
Discipline. He's learned discipline.
I have learned discipline. But the thing is,
we can't do that thing that you do to little kids. You know,
there's this little
it.
piece of me that pisses me off when somebody tells me I can't do something or there's a problem that makes me want to overcome it. The thing is, I think every entrepreneur needs that because you are constantly going to be told that idea is not going to work.
Yeah.
And if you can't overcome the rejection and say, you know what? Maybe it's not going to work that way, but I'm going to figure out how I can make this work. If you don't have that ability to pivot, continue to be persistent, like it's going to be a hard time being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I have this fascination with being an entrepreneur, like ever since I was a kid. Now I'm more of an intrapreneur. I like working internally within companies and helping companies innovate and solve their problems internally. Because like I grew up in a family full of business owners, and I realized I don't actually want to own the businesses because I also don't like the day-to-day stuff, and I get bored after a while. But if I could work with a whole bunch of companies, it's way better.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I work for the guy I do now. Like I like him because I've worked for him at a few different companies, and like no matter what's happening in his life, he's always like starting some. He's like a serial entrepreneur. You know, those people where it's like they can't help but have a mission and a goal, and it's like the adversity drives them to be their best selves, support their families, etc. Yeah, we need that for sure. Those people are inspiring because they turn that toughness into opportunity, or that adversity into toughness into opportunity constantly, and we get to witness it.
Yeah, so. I'm throwing this up here again because we're so lucky that we've found a way to make it our full-time job to hang out with those kind of inspiring people. So if you're one of them, come pitch us at dgb.vc. If you want to meet folks like that and have opportunities to invest in folks like that and things like that, come hang out with us at dgb.vc. Just come hang. That's it. But you're totally right? It's a really epic mindset. It's super inspiring all the time to hang out with people like that. And we've found a way to make it our jobs and go between all of these companies all day long and help them at the earliest stage, which is the most fun stage.
And you can always bring your problems to these people too. Like if you have something in life that you're trying to figure out, ask those people because they're going to think of a creative solution for you, maybe 10 ideas. They'll just start rattling off ideas. Their brains are designed to work in this like problem solver way.
Well,
it's amazing.
A lot of people don't want help.
No, a lot of people don't want help because it means work. You got to do a lot of work. If you're asking a serial entrepreneur, what would you do about getting into an art gallery? They're going to tell you, and then you're going to have to get into an art gallery. That's like something I'm dealing with now. I've got like a plan, and it's like a big thing. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
now I have to do it.
I have no clue on art gallery.
No, but our solution to get into an art gallery would be totally different than like somebody who knows or somebody who has like any kind of experience. And sometimes that's the best way to approach things, right?
Okay. Because we're talking about, I'm gonna throw one out. So I have a buddy who has a co-working space, and guess what? There's art on the walls.
Yeah.
So finding a co-working space and talking to the owner of the co-working space, going, "Hey, can I hang my art on display in your co-working space?"
Writing that down.
Ooh, that's kind of, couldn't you use that a little bit like also a little bit of rent too? Instead of them just paying you an outright fee, isn't it almost like maybe a little bit like a lease?
Oh, like they're leasing your art?
That's amazing.
I don't know if I think that like art and I think people like folks that don't appreciate it to its fullest will go, I'll just spend $100 one time and get a bunch of posters and stuff. Right. But if you're they're in a way, they're doing you a favor, but maybe you're doing them a favor. You'd be like, hey, I'll give you a commission. You put these up, we put little QR codes in the corner. People who are interested will scan the QR code. And if they buy it, I'll give you guys 5%, right? Or whatever. I don't know what the going rate is or whatever. And all of a sudden, you're solving a problem for them, like they don't have barren walls, but also you're giving them a revenue stream, like potential revenue stream. Worst case scenario, they have a good looking walls instead of nothing on the wall.
Here's another idea. Hook up with a designer that is either working with model homes or working with hotels, and convince them to basically utilize your artwork for the model homes.
Make prints for all the hotel rooms.
Make prints for the hotel rooms. Make prints for the model homes that they're demonstrating. So because when you're demoing model homes, right, you have sample artwork and stuff that you decorate the house. If you could be the artwork for that, across all their model homes.
I wonder if there's like an agency that does that.
There probably is.
Maybe there needs to be one. Maybe
that's what I was thinking. I was like, here's a business.
Come pitch us an agency on this if you don't have.
I mean, I'm assuming one exists, but maybe
we are building a real estate empire of like various real estate technologies, anything that's real estate, AI, and blockchain related. So if you have creating a company that's in the real estate space, come talk to us at DGB.
Speaking of tech, do you think, we were talking about electrical grid earlier. Do you think with all the, data centers being built, that the data centers will almost be the new electrical grid kind of 20 years from now? Right? Because like think of how much is having to be powered with AI and the stable coins. And if people are doing still all the Bitcoin mining, right? And then now all the international trade 10 years from now, So I'm just thinking, does data centers become our new electrical grid 20 years from now?
You're probably right, because they might have the only access to like that type of nuclear energy that like powers everything
that can power it all.
And then neighborhoods and cities might lease from those data centers the
right.
overflow, just like they do right now from solar farms.
Yep.
So you might be absolutely correct about that. It's very
Because
interesting.
they're building.
I've got an idea for a movie, guys. We cut into the future.
I think nuclear power comes back.
We cut into the future.
I think either nuclear power or fusion energy.
Where people push back on nuclear and all sorts of things. I don't know. This is a movie, right? 50 years, 100 years in the future. We decide we're putting all these nuclear plants or some way of getting better power on the moon. And that's where we keep the data centers. And easily with satellites and stuff, we could get the data really, really fast and easy to Earth. So most of the world's data centers are on the moon. And an unexpected asteroid hits the moon, nuclear meltdown in a way they didn't think was going to happen. All the data centers incinerated. It's going to take years and years to rebuild. And a whole generation of kids has to grow up in the future without internet.
Whoa.
And none of their devices work anymore because everything is so interconnected. People won't be able to drive their cars because most cars don't even drive anymore. Right?
So
I have like 7 cars in a museum that work, and they won't have gasoline to put in them. It'll be awesome.
No, so like 1960s lifestyle, but
with a bunch of broken down 2050 self-driving cars that are just sitting there, robots you're using as a coat rack. No.
People are going to get smart. They're going to start using Meshtastic networks, which is a mesh network that people can start using it.
But then my movie can't occur.
Yeah, your mesh network ruined everything.
Yeah, no, I think people are going to wisen up eventually. Well, there'll be 2 camps. There's going to be the people who are in the new controlled society in these circular towns that are walled off, right? There's a movie like this. I'm totally spacing on that. Divergent. I think it's Divergent, right? Where you have this little society that's completely controlled in the building, and then you have people who live out in the wilderness who are actually living off the land. They're completely self-sufficient, but they're the bad people, but actually they're the people who have common sense or just self-sovereign. And so we're going to have 2 different groups of societies, and eventually we're just going to have to split the U.S. into the people who want to be self-sovereign versus the people who to be controlled by the government.
When are we
it's happening anyway, slowly.
When are we going to be able to split based on just our own preferences? Because we're all digital anyway. And
that's what states are supposed to be, right?
I was talking about that with somebody yesterday.
Where's the digital nomad state?
That's what I'm saying. It's not even that. It's just you pay the federal government what you pay, and then everything else is like insurance. Like you have the basic stuff because of the federal government, and they should provide the services we need. Why? Because there's some common things. Water.
You should pay the state that you agree with and then the state pays the federal government.
No, the issue is that if we're going full digital and you get to pick and choose like which thing you do based on the services they provide, some services are tied to where you physically are. So maybe it's smaller countries or smaller states and you don't pay a federal government and the federal government is the pick and choose, but that's just, semantics, right? You pay some fee for the basic services that you think every human being should have, right? And it would be rational because this is a utopia we're talking about. And then everything else is just competition, but in an insurance style way, without the corruption that there is today. And then it would be somewhat socialistic in a lot of ways, and it would be super capitalistic in a lot of ways, but not the versions of them we know today, the actual good versions of them that we dream about.
You bring up a good point, because in a decentralized company where people work all different places, like you now have to comply with each different state that has different rules on employments and stuff like that. And it's like, why? What if I don't want to fall under the employment rules for California, but I want to fall under this state? But you have to move there. The fact that we have all these rules for all these different states is
in today's world where everything is digital. Look, we're in 4 different places. We're live streaming right now. There are tens of thousands of people who are watching everywhere around the world. But our services and the things we choose, and if we buy a car, which government we pay the fees to, and the insurance we have, and all that stuff is dictated by our physical location. But nothing else we do in life, in our jobs, right, are dictated by that.
Are dictated by it, right?
Yeah, so people could opt out, you're saying, and they could like join a different system, or like there's like a federal system and a state system, and then a state/global.
There should be a global system.
There will eventually, for sure. I think that's part of what crypto is building, and I don't think everybody believes in it. I don't think people think it's all a good thing, but I think some people think it's the solution to everything.
You don't think that just becomes just part of, like, instead of our U.S. dollar, right? How it's one of the I think it's the biggest currency, used by most nations. You don't think that it just kind of replaces U.S. dollar internationally as more people become digital?
I would think so, but
there's too much power in the government, and there's too much power in those banks and institutions. And I think that's where the stable coins come in, and they control it in a way that's the same or worse than what we were all fearing with a CBDC, right? The central bank digital currency that everyone is against. But that's at the end of the day, it's not that different from what we have. At the end of the day, the power will be in JP Morgan's hands, which means it's in the government's hands, or vice versa, right? Like,
but if there's one system running it all, then that's the same as these systems that run it today, meaning they'll
find their ways to continue to print money and stuff like that. Rankin has ideas on how it's going to be different, but it'll be a version of it because they'll just create the rules that.
But it's worse potentially because it becomes more oppressive in the sense that if it does go wrong, there's nothing to oppose it to overturn it. It's just the one system that controls all. So,
but that's not that different than today. We're told that there's different factions and groups and things like that, but they're not that different or different at all. It's a politics marketing game.
You're saying that we're just living on these concepts, and the truth is that none of us has any control whatsoever, and that they're already
not none of us.
The goal,
very few.
The goal is a smooth transition. You can never transition anybody quickly because they will rebel. It's just like cooking a frog. You have to boil the water slowly.
That's not actually true, but it's a good analogy. Frogs just jump out of the water. I've been told according to the internet. I've never tried because I'm not a.
But the idea is in theory correct. Like you do it slowly, so the idea is that you don't feel the water change, right? Like you don't want to disrupt things too quickly because then people rebel and say no. And so what you do is you do it gradually behind the scenes, and so people don't actually realize what's going on until they're already in the system, and by then it's too late.
Well, I think people are more like lobsters than frogs, though, because we don't push back and What, like a lot of times,
maybe lobsters instead of frogs. I mean, but the greatest example is go look at the breaking away from the gold standard, and that's a good example of how people just accepted it.
Yeah. All that stuff kind of got me cemented into that world, actually, because once you take in all that information, it's like you realize the limited amount of choices and options, and there's only a plan.
I think we also have, what's the rate right now? 25% or some crazy amount of unemployment, and people are just trying to live. And
they say it's higher than 2008 or something like that. The layoffs, that was like.
Depends on who's reporting it and what they're saying, but it's crazy high. And I think that all the gig jobs and things like that, on one hand, the people who are unemployed are supplementing themselves, so they're making something. So some people are able to go, oh, that's not real numbers because people are still making money. But at the same, and maybe it's amplifying the unemployment too numbers in a way. But the truth is people are struggling, right? And inflation has made it significantly worse, and they're going to do it again as soon as they can and pump everything up. Rankin, you can drop if you have to do that thing, and then I'll wrap it up.
Good seeing you.
Rankin, you got to drop to a call. All right, I'll talk to you.
Bye, Rankin.
Later.
Bye.
And so anyway. You guys know where we're going on this.
Yeah. It gets weird too, because a lot of people have like all kind of like philosophies and even like religious beliefs attached to this topic, and there's so many concepts that people like kind of choose to believe in or reject. This
I like
eventually.
It's funny, right? Like, because I'm not a religious person, but I find myself like I like certain things, and I love how Rankin puts in he studies a lot of interesting verses and things, and he'll literally put in Bible verses that are warning against like inflationary policies and things like that. He'll post that, and it's so cool.
That's what I've read, all that stuff too, and I'm fairly religious too. Like I think that's where me and David have aligned on some things, is that like we've read a lot of the same stuff, but I'm also realistic in the sense that I try to look at the world how I see it and how it is. And I think that things are so subjective. You can make it into anything you want. You could read any book off the shelf and all of a sudden start applying that narrative to the world around you, and you could start seeing what you read in the book. So it's like, this is what we make it. He's back.
He's back. He's back. He heard us talking about him.
He heard us talking about religion. Oh my God, he had to come back in. We were just talking about the religious narratives that spill over into this topic and how that can affect people's perception.
I think that's one of the unique things is I'm a very a Renaissance man.
Almost every time. Hold on, we gotta address this at least just once, because it's really funny to me. It's like not funny, but it's funny to me. Every time you talk, the first like 3 seconds, it's like and then it catches up to you, and then it's perfect. And every time, like I want to say, "Oh, we can't hear you," and then it just fixes itself.
Yeah,
and it's really weird and funny, and I can see it in Nathan's face. He's like about to say something true, and then it just fixes itself, so we don't say anything, and we get the idea because it's only like one word or two words. It's just so funny to me. But
I can start doing that intentionally.
Look at each other like, what's happening? So crazy.
No, I was described. So I have a lot of interest, right? And so because of that, it creates a different perspective, because I have so many different wide interests, and yet I can't recall all of everything that I have off the top of my head. But because of when you start to investigate so many different things, it's like a collage, right? And I say the same thing about religion. Religion is a giant collage, and when you look at all the different religions out there, you get a common message, which is love and love your fellow man, and love your neighbor and all that stuff. But like things are a loss. So when you start seeing all these different things, you can put different conclusions together based off of what you do from the sum of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of my ideas come
from.
That.
Well, you see
Yeah.
a lot of perspectives,
Well,
and you meet a lot of people, and you hear a lot
talking
of
to
ideas.
Zuda's always like, he's all like, you think differently than everybody else I know. I'm like, is that a good thing?
I love how he'll just tell you the truth. He's just like boom, here he's like a
that's what I was gonna say.
People.
when I first met him, there was this whole thing back and forth about me making too many sarcastic comments and him being very literal. And he was like, "You're being sarcastic." And I was like, and it's obvious to me. It might be obvious to you. Maybe I'm not fully getting across because I make dumb jokes sometimes that other people don't get. But it took him a second. But one of the things I love about Zuda is exactly that. He's like so literal, and he'll just be like, what you said does not make sense. And he'll like tell you why he thinks it doesn't make sense, or you're wrong, or he'll say things like that might pop into your head, but he'll say it out loud. And I love that man.
I do too. I always forget when I'm interacting with him. Like he posted something on X about like, he said like OnlyFans aren't, like sex workers or something, right? And I was like, and he was trying to make some point, and I trying to be funny was just like, who's your favorite one? And he came back, and I could tell he's like, he didn't think it was funny. I was like, oh.
Well, he probably just thought you were serious, and then he was like, now we're going to debate something else. And but you don't have to. He catches on, and what's cool is when you what I think is really good that most people don't do. I definitely don't do. And I think is a great trait, is he'll just be like, he'll come and be like, are you mad at me? Or I'm mad at you because of this. Am I right to be mad at you because of this? And then you'll be like, bro, here, I'm going to clear myself up. And he'll get it. Like, he won't be permanently offended or whatever. He'll just respond right back. Again, exactly what we were saying. Like, he'll say what he's thinking, and he'll come to you and be like, what's up? And then you can clear yourself up, because I make lots of dumb jokes, and I catch myself when we have conversations. He's awesome. He's okay, awesome. Guys, we gotta wrap it up. We're over time.
Uppercuts.
All right, let's I've said it a bunch of times. dgb.vc. Follow us all on Twitter, where it says below. I'm hanging on to saying Twitter instead of X. I even type out Twitter in my bar, and it automatically redirects to X. I don't know. I'm just being weird like that. But
it's the best branding ever. Like, Elon Musk made an awful branding decision by changing it to X. Everybody, they call them tweets. It's Twitter.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't change the word tweeting. It's like
and by the way, if you do go to the new terminology, then it's the same terminology as every single other website, which is
reposting.
Oh, we're just posting and reposting, and that's what you do everywhere else.
I don't
tweeting
like that.
And retweeting is what you do on Twitter.
And I think that was just a political thing on his part. And he's got to not.
He owns X.com, and it's been something he's wanted to do forever. I went to the PayPal development conference in 2012, 2013, 14, sometime around there, when I was doing my company, crowdfunding company. And PayPal had launched X.com, and it was for adaptive payments. And it was the first time you could split payments and stuff in a single call. And it was a really innovative thing. It's basically, later Stripe did it in a different way. And that's how Stripe got popular. But they used X.com. And then when they stopped using X.com, I think that Elon owns it and leased it to PayPal. And it's probably leasing it to X or to Twitter, just in case, it doesn't end up working out long term, and then he'll use it for the next thing if it doesn't become a forever thing.
Yeah, didn't he create PayPal the same year as Bitcoin was created?
Well, he didn't create it. So it's kind of like Tesla. He was like a hired gun to come in and be the CEO at an somewhat early stage, right? And he's that guy that knows how to run these kind of innovative companies and whatever. But
interesting.
Yeah, it's PayPal came out of a very needed solution for online payments and stuff. And so trusted online payments when people didn't trust the internet, and blockchain's doing the same thing. In a decentralized
one's trusted, one's trustless.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Make sure you follow Nate and Nathaniel and Nathan. I'm bumping between all the names.
Nathan
and Nathaniel and all that. But follow Nathan, get his art, buy some NFTs. We really should think about doing like the wall in Michigan. If we ever get an office out here, we for sure do that here.
Can you please allow me to do that?
I want to do that. Like now I got to talk to the team and be like, guys, let's do something like this.
I would love it. It would make it would make my day, my year, my everything.
Dude, I'd be so
excited about that, dude.
That would be so cool. And then, guys, everyone have a great week. We'll talk to you. Any last things, Nathan, you want to tell anybody to? And Nate, Rankin, any last?
I would like to just say really quick before we leave that the world is always in a tough place, and it always will be. That's our perception giving us fits. But the one thing that we can always do is call our friends, call our families, even the wacky neighbor that puts the weird signs up that we're always at odds with. Just love everybody. Do your best. And when you can't love everybody, love yourself, because that's probably what's stopping you from loving them. That's my message.
Boom. I love that. I'm in. I'm in. Thank you for the inspiring end to the stream. I love it. We should start the stream with something like that too. Next time I'm going to put you on the spot.
That's my favorite thing.
Yeah, we gotta sandwich the love into this. I'm all for that. All right.
I love it.
I'm going to hit the end thing.
All right, guys.